Coming up, a new housing development in Sioux City hits a snag at tonight's City Council meeting.
Business is booming in Hardington, Nebraska, the special award the city received today.
And remains of a Korean War veteran from Siouxland finally return home. Your KCAU 9 News at 10 starts now.
We are Siouxland proud. This is KCAU 9 News at 10.
And good evening on a Monday night. I'm Tim Seaman.
And I'm Sophie Erber. Business is booming in a small Nebraska town. Lieutenant Governor Mike Foley recognizing Hardington and its two newest businesses in a special ceremony.
KCAU 9 reporter Hannah Adamson spent much of her day talking with the Lieutenant Governor and those new business owners. What she learned in our top story at 10.
Tim and Sophie, Lieutenant Governor Foley tells me many small Nebraska communities are struggling to grow their population, with many young people moving away to attend college and never coming back. That's why he hopes more communities will soon follow in Hardington's footsteps.
It's been probably at least a decade since we've been thinking about doing it.
For Brett Wiedenfeld, opening a brewery was a lifelong dream, a dream the city of Hardington, Nebraska helped turn into a reality.
Our city sales tax fund has continued to grow, and we're loaning those funds out for people to try to start a new business. Big
Hair Brew House, one of two new businesses Nebraska's Lieutenant Governor Mike Foley toured Monday, his day ending with a special ceremony recognizing the city as one of the top places to start a business in the state.
If someone wants to come to Nebraska or Northeast Nebraska, our community would be identified as one that has what they need to grow their business and start a business.
This is actually the third time they've been recertified as an economic development certified community. So it's a big deal for them. It says a lot about the environment in this community, that they're serious about creating growth for private sector businesses.
And he says he'd like to see many more. Only 40 communities across the state have been given this kind of award.
They have to work very, very close with the Department of Economic Development and show us the plan, show us the big plan, and show us the local resources that the local folks are willing to put into that plan to help develop it. And if, when they do that, then the state can offer some matching funds and help them achieve their dreams.
Yeah, the community, like I said, has been tremendous in supporting us this early on.
And Mayor Becker tells me more growth is expected for Hardington. The city's industrial park is full, and that's why they're working on plans to build a second one. Groundwork and infrastructure work of that project is set to begin soon. Tim?
Encouraging news tonight. Thanks, Hannah. Meanwhile, a new residential development planned here in Sioux City has hit a snag. It happened during tonight's City Council meeting. Council members deferred a vote that would have established a development agreement with Elk Creek Development, LLC. Now, that company's planning that development on the city's east side. During the meeting, developers and contractors for that project raised concerns over building standards set by the city for the Elk Creek subdivision.
You know, our standards have added considerable cost to the project, and the developers obviously don't want to do it. And Alex worked hard to get a compromise. I just don't think the compromise is probably going to pass. So we'll have to see. Hopefully in the next week they can work something out so that we can continue to move the project.
The mayor referencing Councilmember Alex Waters' work with that development group. Now, the Elk Creek subdivision is planned for the 43 acres of property near the intersection of Singing Hills Boulevard and Lakeport Road. The council did approve a resolution to begin accepting bids for the construction of an aviation center to be built near Sioux Gateway Airport. Once finished, that center would be leased by Oracle Aviation out of Omaha. That company plans to partner with Morningside University to establish a fully accredited aviation program, offering a Bachelor of Science degree in aviation-related fields. Early drafts of the project propose a 39,000 square foot facility with 20,000 feet of hangar space.
A South Dakota family tonight is mourning the loss of their 10-year-old boy after he drowned saving his sister in the Big Sioux River. Saturday evening, emergency crews were called out to an area of that river just south of Hudson. It took 4 hours for crews to recover the body of 10-year-old Ricky Sneeve. Many are calling Ricky a hero.
I've known Ricky since he was very little. I think we met him when he was 1 or 2, and yeah, he was an incredible boy growing up, always willing to help people, and just sweet and polite. Yeah, just he was an amazing kid.
First responders are reminding everyone that a river can look calm on the surface but still have fast-moving undercurrents. So always make sure you have life jackets if you or your family are near any body of water.
He died in the Korean War, and today, more than 70 years later, Corporal Eldert J. Beek was laid to rest in the town of George, Iowa.
And KCAU 9 News reporter Jason Toktagian was there at the funeral. He shares the family's memories of this American hero.
A summit between the U.S. and North Korea in 2018 led to the return of the remains of a man they called Uncle Eldy. After 71 years, it was a return no one thought would happen. Taps and a 21-gun salute, all to honor the sacrifice made by U.S. Army Corporal Eldert J. Beek. Beek was 20 years old when he died in the Korean War. Eldon Maxwell is Beek's nephew.
You know, he paid the ultimate sacrifice, and he got that welcome today from all these people, and all the legions and the military, and the recognition that he fully deserved.
Cindy Bry is Beek's niece. She has fond memories of her uncle at a very young age.
He was so welcoming. When I stop and think of a 19-year-old young man, how many of them welcome their scrawny nieces? When we came in the door, he would say, "Come here, Pipsqueak," and he'd throw me in the air and catch me.
I remember as a kid growing up, I said to my mom, I said, "What in the world did you ever name me Eldon?" She says, "Well, you're named after Uncle Eldert." And I said, "Well, I guess that's an honor." It is.
Beek's family was contacted in 2020 with the news that his remains were part of a group of 55 Americans being released by North Korea. It was a day the family is grateful for, but one his mother and father didn't live to see.
We've had a gravestone for him, but he's never been buried. So now he finally gets buried beside his mom and dad. So he comes home. And, you know, I have to tell you, for years of growing up, Grandpa kept thinking he was going to come home. Well, he didn't, but now he has.
Some of Beek's military honors include the Purple Heart and the National Defense Service Medal. Reminders his family and friends say that freedom isn't free. Jason Toktagian, KCAU 9 News.
KCAU 9 is proud to tell the stories of Siouxland veterans, and we're always looking for nominations if you should know of one.
So if you know a veteran with a story to tell, we'd like for you to email us at the address on your screen there, veteransvoices@kcautv.com. Well, Sioux City law enforcement agencies were getting to know their community members a little better this evening. The Neighborhood Network held their annual Family Fun Night at 3 Sioux City pools, Riverside, Leaf, and Lewis. Families at each of those locations could swim for free, get something to eat, and also get to know members of their local PD, as well as the Neighborhood Network.
We determine effectiveness by people that we can help. If it's a barking dog, if it's too many cars on a street, if it's potholes, if it's rundown houses. If we can get them help, get them to a city official that they need to talk to, we're being effective.
Family Fun Night is usually held in January, but it was postponed this year because of COVID-19.
A good night to swim and a great afternoon to play golf. The Ronald McDonald House Charity's teeing up its annual golf charity at Sioux City Country Club. 28 teams in all played 18 holes with mini games along the way. A silent auction and dinner were held after competition ended. The event is one of the nonprofit's largest events and helps the charity serve families with children in local hospitals.
Trying to take care of themselves while taking care of a child at the same time. And that's what we're there for, is to take care of the families, because that child is being served by the hospital, but who's looking out for mom and dad and siblings as well.
The local Ronald McDonald House is hoping to raise $35,000 during today's activities, all to help those kids and their families. Great effort, great day.
I was going to say, you really cannot ask for much more as a golfer, being outside. Not a lot of humidity. Scott, at least it didn't feel like it,
No.
and barely a breeze, so you can't blame your wayward shot on the wind.
Exactly, yeah. Not too windy, not too humid. Just put on some sunscreen and away you go. It was a pretty nice day to take part in that event. Here's the view now from the Ho Chunk Center camera set up in downtown Sioux City. Expecting to have a peaceful night as it looks like temperatures will slip into the 50s and 60s. So we do get a break from the heat. Right now it remains warm though. The temperature is 76 in Sioux City with the wind in from the east at 6 miles an hour with relative humidity at 43% and the dew point now at 52. You can see that we have some hotter conditions as you move to the southwest of Sioux City. Temperatures there are still in the 70s and 80s at this hour. It's 85 degrees in Kansas City, even still close to 90 in Scotts Bluff, 78 degrees in North Platte and Valentine. To the northeast of Sioux City, you can finally have some cooler temperatures up that way. It's 65 in Madison, Wisconsin. 67 the current reading in Esterville, 75 outside in Storm Lake. And you can see the temperatures are hotter in Nebraska. Partly cloudy skies, a high temperature of 88. And then another chance of storms Monday as we cool things to about 80 next Tuesday and Wednesday. Well, here is a beautiful picture of a sunset. This was captured by Willie in Mobile, Iowa. And you can also see a sleepy cat also enjoying his time on the deck there. Thanks a lot to Willie for passing in that picture. If you have a picture that you want to share with everybody, head over to SiouxlandProud.com, find the weather tab, and just roll on down to send us your photos.
Maybe Willie should have sent us one with him catching the cat nap.
Yeah, you know.
That would have been funny.
I didn't catch the cat's name, but very cute picture.
Absolutely. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. Well, President Joe Biden today, of course, attending his very first NATO summit as president, and he is striking a different tone than his predecessor.
What the president is promising to America's allies coming up. But first, officials say that it is too early to determine what caused this massive fire at a chemical plant. We'll find out when evacuations may be lifted coming up next.
You're watching KCAU 9 News with Tim Seaman, Sophie Herber, Chief Meteorologist Scott Larson, and Sports Director Jake Jones. This is KCAU 9 News at 10. KCAU.
A massive fire will likely burn for days at a grease manufacturing plant in northern Illinois. That 4-alarm fire broke out around 7 o'clock this morning at the Chemtool manufacturing plant in Rockton. A full-scale evacuation is underway within a mile of that facility, which includes a high school in that area. About 70 employees were able to escape, all uninjured. One firefighter received minor injuries. Now, a thick black plume of smoke can still be seen miles from that site. Crews have stopped putting water on the fire, in fact. Investigators say that it's still too early to figure out what may have caused that blaze.
The Justice Department's top national security official is resigning tonight from his position. This after revelations the department secretly seized records from Democrats. John Demers will leave his position by the end of next week. The resignation comes amid questions about what he knew about the Justice Department's efforts to secretly seize the phone data as part of an investigation into leaks. Republican leader Mitch McDonald says the subpoenas may have been legitimate.
There's no need for a partisan circus here in the Congress. So any outrage from Democrats that allege criminal leaks within their own ranks rightly drew the attention of federal investigators rings completely hollow.
Democrats want William Barr and Jeff Sessions to testify before Congress. Both former attorneys general deny knowledge of those subpoenas.
President Biden's first NATO summit as president is underway in Brussels, reaffirming America's commitment to the alliance.
NATO is critically important for U.S. interest.
Biden met with European leaders Monday morning to discuss how NATO should adapt to new challenges, including cyber attacks, climate change, and growing threats from China as well as Russia. The president will get a chance to sit down with NATO leaders before heading to Geneva on Wednesday. That's where he's set to meet with Russia President Vladimir Putin.
Israel's longest-serving Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was ousted Sunday, ending his 12-year term. It was Netanyahu's ongoing trial for corruption and bribery that appears to have been his final undoing politically. He has been replaced by the slightly unwieldy coalition that is going to be led by 2 prime ministers, each serving 2 years. President Joe Biden one of the first to congratulate the new prime ministers, saying he is looking forward to strengthening all aspects of what he's calling the close and enduring relationship between the two nations.
Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris was in South Carolina kicking off a national vaccination tour by top administration officials. That tour is part of the administration's month of action to accelerate vaccination efforts between now and July 4th and promote the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine, as well as trying to dispel any misinformation.
These vaccines were developed over a decade of research. I know it seemed like it happened overnight, but it didn't. It is an extension of love thy neighbor to say that when we get vaccinated and make sure everyone we see or know gets vaccinated, it's not just about protecting ourselves.
Friday, the Vice President will end the week with a stop in Atlanta to highlight partnerships that bring vaccine outreach to more than 1,000 Black-owned barbershops as well as beauty salons.
Well, we switch gears now. KCAU 9 Sports Director Jake Jones is in the house. Jake, what do you have tonight?
Well, some breaking news coming out about Sioux City East alum Shelby Houlihan this evening. Hear what's going on with the former Black Raider coming up next in sports.
Sports.
Welcome back. Breaking news from the Athletics Integrity Unit tonight about Sioux City Olympic middle distance runner Shelby Houlihan. The Sioux City East alum posting on Instagram today that she had been banned for 4 years from the Olympics for a positive test for an anabolic steroid. Houlihan posting on her Instagram that she believes her positive test stems from a pork burrito that she ate and appealed the ruling to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, but on Friday was told her explanation was not enough, upholding her 4-year ban. Houlihan's Instagram post saying, "I feel completely devastated, lost, broken, angry, confused, and betrayed by the very sport that I've loved and poured myself into just to see how good I was. I want to be very clear, I've never taken any performance-enhancing substances. That includes that of which I am being accused." The announcement coming just a week before the Olympic trials, with Houlihan saying that she will continue to fight to prove her innocence.
That's a convincing score.
Absolutely. And I tell you what's not convincing right now is Shelby Houlihan's concerns, because you know, what she is being accused of having in her system occurs naturally in pork, which is why she's saying happened with a pork burrito.
Maybe time for another test?
And this
Solve it all?
And this is where a lot of people are saying, I saw a good point about there's really not a positive outcome, because if it proves that, if she proves her innocence, well, then the sport just lost her for this Olympics. But if she doesn't prove her innocence, then it's another case, you know, and it's just a tough story.
The whole drug testing scheme in those type of sports, Olympic-wise professional sports, it just seems so wacky.
Yeah, it's gotta be another way.
It just seems, and when it's one of your own, it feels a little different.
And that's the hard part, you know, definitely pulling at the heartstrings tonight, but tough.
And interesting. I'm sure you'll keep us posted. Thanks, Jake. And we'll check in for one final forecast. First, take you outside on this warm night here in Siouxland.
We are short on time tonight. Thanks for joining us.
That's right. We hope you have a good evening.